you want us to stop recording to talk about whatever, just holler.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds good.
Just to
Nick,
check.
are you on recording? Do you want me to do it?
Let's just both do it just in case one of them goes down.
Okay.
It's happened before.
Just to check before we get started, is there a hard stop that anybody has? So we can know how much time we have.
I don't have a hard stop. Yeah, it does go forever, but yeah, good luck. Yeah, we can definitely, yeah, don't have a hard stop. So.
Okay. How about you, Blake?
I'm good for right now.
Okay. All right. Nick, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, let's get started. So the reason we reached out to you is that we're obviously really, really passionate about getting this game finished, but we've sort of hit a bit of an impasse. And that's that because we've been at it so long, we've built this really strong team and a really strong infrastructure around it. But progress is inevitably slow, and it's a barrier we haven't really been able to get past just because we're working weekdays and weekends, and team members naturally sort of come and go. We've tried different things to sort of keep people motivated, but the volunteer framework just on its own isn't really working for us to get the game done within the next, 5 years. And 5 years is a hell of a long time, especially when you've been doing it for, I think Philip's been on it for 10, I've been on it for 8. Yeah, it's a hell of a long time. And so we've been sort of throwing around ideas for ways to really light a fire under that and get it done. But we always hit that legal barrier of what we're doing is a sort of a legal grey area because we don't have official permission from you guys to create it. So we can't do things like be definitive about how the game's going to be sold, how the game's going to be distributed, who can work on it, that kind of thing. And so we're approaching you guys with a couple of ideas for ways we could do it. We have some ideas, but really we're just like your advice on you're transmitting openly.
Yeah.
Sorry. So we're just approaching you guys for some advice on that situation.
So guys, could you
Go ahead,
improve the audio quality? Because you guys are breaking up on me a good bit. It's probably just my connection here, but
yeah, I would say Blake, it is probably your connection. We're hearing it just fine over here. So what I'll do is we'll take our video off on our end, so at least they'll just have audio. So so hopefully that'll help you, Blake.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
So guys, in terms of the overall project, when you wrote to us, you said there may be a publisher, there may be a more formal way of pulling this all in. What does that look like?
All right, yeah, I'm happy to. Yeah, I'll just run through. So we've got 3 main sort of avenues of things to explore, and they're sort of in order of how feasible we think they are. So the first sort of path to market we have is working with another studio who has sort of the manpower to get it done. So we'll bring the infrastructure and the know-how and the sort of the knowledge of the game and how it all is all laid out. So we've had an offer from a studio here in Adelaide that was willing to lend us their art team because really what we've got is a really good system to make the art and a really good pipeline, but we just don't have the time to crank out those assets. So they'd be willing to lend us essentially just those artists for that period of time. The only problem is that obviously when we got to the point where we had to say, oh, we don't actually have the right to make this, we're just sort of flying blind a bit, they backed right off. And so that's one avenue we'd like to take, is that essentially saying we have the rights to make this, we have the structure, we'd like to work with another production team somewhere to make this happen. The second avenue is to just reinforce our volunteer team. And so instead of running by purely passion, we would be open about having this rev share system. We're not 100% on how the rev share system would work at the moment, but it would probably be some kind of point system where every asset is worth a certain number of points, and then there's sort of a breakdown at the very end when the game is being sold. But use that to attract more talent to the team and really increase our team from sort of the core 10, 15 people have at the moment to 50, 60, and just sort of go through it that way. And the final avenue is to become a sort of full-time production team and sort of leave our day jobs behind and try going the traditional publisher route, just approach interested investors and publishers and see if we can get it funded that way. That is probably the least attractive to us because a lot of our team can't afford to leave our sort of our current positions to work on a game for a short period of time and then be sort of out of work at the end. So it's a little risky for us there. But these are all sort of feelers at the moment, so we're not eliminating anything just yet.
Got it. Thanks, Nick. That's very helpful. So of the
Uh-oh. We lost you there.
what are the most
No,
Blake. Yeah, I think you faded out, Blake. I'll see if I can ask the question. So of the three, work with another studio. So there was somebody that willing to throw their art team at. Did they think you had funding, or were they willing to fund their team with some participation in the back end? What did that look like?
well, this is all obviously sort of theoretical, and the offer wasn't 100% sort of ironed out. This was more just a first approach kind of thing, because they sort of balked at the first hurdle of the legal hurdle. But the idea would be that they would fund their own art team. They wouldn't fund us, so we'd probably still be working volunteer or like doing our thing. But they would fund their own members to get it done in return for a place in the credits, because they were a up and coming game developer in Australia. There's not too many of them, and they wanted just sort of to have some ships titles under their belt to show around. And they also wanted a slice of the revenue at the end.
Right. So taking a little different tack,
Mhm.
just to find out where you feel you are in the whole production process right now.
Mhm.
What percent is done? What problems do you see? How do you hope to overcome those problems? The videos being probably a particular concern, voiceovers and such.
Yes. So our by far our biggest challenge that we haven't addressed is the characters. There's a lot of pressure from the community to be as authentic as possible to these characters, and unlike environments, it's going to be a big challenge to get those sort of real-time 3D characters moving around with mocapped animation, mimicking the performances from the original game to a level that we'd be happy with. We haven't done much character work. The team is kind of weak in that aspect. And so we've been exploring with one character, but that's by far sort of our biggest Achilles heel, I guess.
Mhm.
We also have I think our material pipeline is really strong, and the materials and textures we make are really good, except we just only have one or two texture artists on the team. So it falls to them and it's quite slow there. That's another sort of flaw in our, I guess. Those are the two big ones, I think.
Okay. So how far along do you think you are in the overall game as a percentage?
I reckon we are roughly, I think, I'd hazard 20-30%, I think.
Okay.
It's, sorry, Kelly?
No, I was gonna say that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Worth mentioning though that those the overall number is quite different from I think the different aspects. Like if we broke out modeling versus materials, modeling is much farther along than say materials, just because we don't have a whole lot of materials skill.
Well, part of the issue with materials is that we stopped materials for a while, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was because standards were changing faster than we were able to keep up with them. And so you have seen some of our materials in the past, and we had to go back and basically kind of redo them when standards changed.
Right.
And we got tired of doing that. So we said, okay, let's focus on getting all of the modeling done, all the camera matching done, and then go through it with a fine-tooth comb and get all the materials done kind of in one fell swoop.
Mm-hmm.
It's a sort of a common theme because we've been around for so long. That when we started, we were sort of a team of students and hobbyists, and to be honest, we weren't that good. And it took us a long time to sort of skill up find what works, eliminate what doesn't. And so even though we've been around, you could sort of track our history for 8 to 10 years. Nearly all the progress, if not 100% of the progress you see, was done in the last 1 or 2 years.
Right. And I know there's been a few engine changes as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
We're done with that now. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe Unreal is the right place.
Yeah.
For sure.
So what are you building in right now?
Unreal Engine 4.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Have you guys thought about doing any? Well, I guess it's all legal. Never mind. I was going to say like doing an Epic grant or something like that, but again, that comes down to do they legally have? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This is kind of
Things like, yeah.
That's
Even,
why.
even
Yep.
like Kickstarters are out of the question. Patreon, I think, would work, but it's kind of borderline. I'm not sure I'd be comfortable with it. Yeah, it's all tricky without that sign off.
right. Wow, it's interesting. I think from the first email, I may have thought you might have talked to a financier who was.
No. I vetoed that a long time ago. I said we cannot even talk about that until we've got Cyan's stamp of approval. I was like, we have to talk to Cyan first. Hence this conversation. This is the whole point of this. We wanted to make sure that the team and you guys were all on the same page before we move forward with anything financial.
Okay, so you don't currently have somebody in your back pocket that you think, oh, if we have somebody that could fund it if we had the legal things in order.
Not 100%, no.
No.
What's the budget? What do you guys think the budget is to finish this?
Now that's a really tricky question. I did do a budget a long time ago. I'll see if I can. I just went through. It was something like $500,000, which seemed really low to us. But
I thought
we have.
was quarters, but that was like 2 years ago.
It was a while ago, and it was also we have no experience with budgeting these things. So when we essentially listed out every single task in the entire game to get it done, put an hourly rate on what each of us thought we were worth, and then just smashed out the entire thing, and it came to a really, really low number. And I assume it's because we're just not familiar with contingencies and the realities of budgeting a game like this.
Yeah.
And so I think if we were to budget again, I'd probably seek some help in doing that. So I can't give you an accurate number.
All right, and so the studio you had reached out to, did they give you a budget as to what they thought, or they were just waiting for you?
Yeah, we didn't get that far. They essentially said, talk to Cyan, and if you can sort something out, get back to us, and we'll go from there. So that's where that conversation ended.
And with the current build that you guys have, where is it at? Is there something we can look at?
We have some stuff in engine. I don't think we have a build. Do we, Philip?
We don't have a playable build at the moment, but we do have bits and pieces that we could build at a future date for you, if you wanted to walk around.
I can load it up though, just to share some stuff.
Like, you won't be able to see this, but we'll see it over on our end.
Nick, you'll have to turn your video back on.
Yeah, I've got my video on. I'm seeing something.
Okay.
Hopefully my connection will stay good enough to...
Well, if Philip and I need to drop our videos out so that Nick's stuff can go forward, we can do that.
I've double-clicked the icon. It might take a little while.
That's a very pretty background.
Yes, Ethan Carter.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to drop my video for now.
It could be a couple of minutes. Do you have any other questions?
No worries.
Yeah, about this time, it just, it's hard to say where, yeah.
It's a yeah.
So if you guys could have your way, what is it that you really want to achieve? You want to build the game and publish it? You want to build the game and have us publish it? You want to what's the end goal here?
For us, we just want the game out there and people playing it and it being a thing in the world that people are enjoying. We're not dead set on any path to get that way. That's just sort of our dream, is to have that done. We're willing to do the whole thing ourselves if that's what you'd prefer. We're also willing to work with you or work with others to get that done. It's really just about getting the game into players' hands ASAP.
And hopefully we're loading the correct demo and not the April Fool's demo.
Yeah.
Well, I've always admired your energy and your drive. It's a huge project.
Uh-huh.
Cut through it on this side.
Yeah.
It was expensive for us.
Well, you guys deserve the biggest props we can possibly throw, because yeah, it is an absolutely phenomenal game. And I know, for at least for me, we are absolutely honored to be part of this. I'm completely honored to be part of this. So ooh.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a huge undertaking, and y'all I'm anxious to see where I think we've seen samples here in the Mysteriums.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
you've been sending me over some latest samples too.
Right,
Like that.
right. It's
It's a huge game.
just a difficult path, and that's why this whole horse and cart. So it's like, well, we have to let you see where you can get.
Right. So that you want to be able to have faith in our ability to do justice.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I totally get that.
I do think the 500,000. I mean, yeah, it seems very low. But then, if you're working with volunteers, I don't know what that means.
Right.
I certainly understand that means
I haven't even seen this part yet.
it's going to take longer than not.
Yeah.
So most of our efforts for the last year and a half have gone into, or more than that really, gone just into environment creation, because that's by far sort of the biggest hurdle. I think it's also what we know best, so we've sort of lent into what gets us the most progress as fast as possible to keep that momentum going, because that's really important for the volunteer effort. People need to see things getting done, otherwise they sort of drop out.
Yep.
And so stuff like actual interaction has sort of taken a back seat to just getting model assets and animations and stuff in. So stuff like the level streamer doesn't work, so it would technically stream in, then you'd zip over to here.
That was a really long part.
Yeah. Longer than you'd think.
Right.
That's the thing. You guys cut corners and making it in real time. It's just like the tower in Myst. It's bigger than.
Yeah.
You know.
Some of the cheats come back to bite you.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's not bad.
No, I got a lot of the modeling done and then some of the texturing for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if the resolution's good enough to see sort of the outliner, to see this kind of stuff. But it sort of does show sort of the way we do things. If I zoom out, you can kind of see, because we've got people all over the world, and because we do take on students and hobbyists and non-professionals as well, and sort of help skill them up. We have a really large range of skill levels on the team, and so we have a really, really strict sort of system from getting things from conception to engine. And so there's a lot of these things, like these little targets and these little symbols that represent zones and props, and that's all mirrored in the Maya file. And so this is partly what I mean by saying, like, I'm really sort of proud of the system we've built. I think it scales really well. That if we suddenly had an influx of 10 new people join tomorrow, we wouldn't need to adjust. We'd just need to be able to assign them open tasks and let them go. which I think is pretty cool.
And are you doing this in Maya, not 3D Studio Max?
We're working in Maya. We have a couple of people because we're volunteer. We kind of try to roll with the punches, and so we have a few people working in Blender. We do have a few people working in Max, but we keep all our master files in Maya, and that's sort of our default official Maya LT to be exact.
Yeah. It's as long as the program can export FBX files, which we need to import into Unreal. We've basically been telling artists we don't care what you use. So some of the artists are using Modo, some are using Max, some are using Blender. We're more concerned about the quality than we are about which particular program to use.
Yeah,
Right.
It all comes into Unreal anyway.
Exactly.
And how many people altogether are working on this project or have worked on this project?
That's two very, very different numbers. I think have worked is probably upwards of 40 to 50, but maybe even 60 people have sort of joined the team at some point and gone. Some of them joined and left really early before I came along. I think the people who have contributed to the game is probably 20-ish. And those who are actively working is probably about 7 or 8. Sorry, Blake?
And how are you handling your rights? I mean, what rights has everyone turned over to you for the work that they've contributed?
We are running with the assumption that Cyan still holds Cyan holds the intellectual property of the game. So we have basically been running with the assumption that the rights will be turned over to Cyan when the game is distributed, released, whatever.
I think off Blake's also asking about how we sort of tracked contributions. So if sort of
Gotcha.
Which we didn't for a long time. It was for the first 5 years or so. I think the assumption was that this would be a free release. It would essentially be packaged and gifted to Cyan, and then we would that was it. We'd back off, so we wouldn't need to track contributions or anything. That changed as of 2016 when we started using Trello to track tasks. So from 16 onwards, we know exactly who's contributed to what. But yeah, there is a bit of a black hole before then, which I acknowledge is a problem. How much of a problem it is, I'm not too sure.
Yeah. Right. And how is the music being handled? I know that Robin Miller actually owns the music.
Do you want me to take this one?
Yeah, sure, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So originally our plan was we have a team member named Hollister, which I accidentally invited him to this call, not realizing until later that I had to uninvite him. He is our on-staff kind of musician and composer, and so he was originally going to basically recover the original soundtrack. And then we had a call with Robin, and he wasn't okay with that. And so we've been kind of noodling with the idea of something called New Game Plus mode, which kind of sounds silly, but the idea that we're running with right now is that when you start up the game and you go to play, the original soundtrack will play. Robin's performance on the original CD. If things can be remastered, that would be awesome. We're gonna, try to get the high quality stuff, but it's gonna be Robin's music. And then in an effort to kind of sort of please some of our fan base who are always asking us for extra things like explorable Tay and other tidbits, we thought about opening up New Game Plus mode, which would involve a completely original soundtrack that sounds nothing like the original soundtrack, but is unique, and that would be Hollister's music. So it's kind of a have our cake and eat it too scenario.
Right. The whole project is overwhelming, but then you know that.
Yeah.
And that's part of why we haven't retackled it.
Yeah.
so unfortunate that our file archives
Yeah.
weren't there.
Yeah.
Well, I think talk about things a little bit more and kind of get back to
Needed to
Or do you have an assignment agreement with everybody who works on the project? Or
So we actually don't currently have any process for this, partially because we don't actually, there's no legal entity behind the Star Expanse project currently.
Yeah.
We've been working on research to figure
okay, but you still have all those contacts? Can you still get all sign off okay. All right, good. Well, listen, guys, thanks so much for setting all this stuff. I'll call Tony. We'll see where we can take it from here.
That sounds great. Blake,
Thanks a
thank you
lot.
so much. It was nice to meet you. Are you coming to Mysterium this year?
I hope so.
Oh, good. Okay, because I'm on the committee, so
Great.
we will chat.
All access.
Well, thanks, Kelly. And everybody remember, please push Firmament on our Kickstarter.
Always.
We need everybody's support.
Yeah, we backed it. I posted about it. Yes, absolutely.
All right.
We have
Thanks,
all
you guys.
the toes crossed. You guys are going to do great.
See ya.
Thanks. All right. Everyone take care.
Thank you, Blake. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I'm stopping recording.
My
Okay.
I opened.
Nick, you muted.
I opened.
Computer didn't
Oh,
explode.
am I muted?
And hopefully I caught all that.
I shouldn't be muted.
Yeah.
There.
It's okay. We can just read your lips. Because he couldn't figure out.
How about now?
Oh, no. Yep.
Yeah, you can.
Yes.
Yeah, you can hear me now. Please.
Yes. I had Maya open, and I had
Ah.
Unreal open, and I was recording, and I opened 233, and my PC shut itself. And I was sitting there, and it's like loading. Oh, master, and then it hanged, and then Ryan was speaking and it cut out. I was like, oh no, no.
Right.
So sitting there like walking back and forth for like 5 minutes. What happened?
Okay. Yeah, I've got the recording.
Okay.
Excellent.
It's okay.
I think mine kept recording, but I don't know what it's like. I think it will just hang.
So you missed. Okay, so basically what happened was that Cyan, or let's see, Ryan and Tony said, well, we'll just, I think we'll just have to think about.
We're gonna talk. We're gonna think about stuff, and
then we'll call you back or get back to you.
Yeah.
And then they actually said goodbye. In the meantime, Blake's connection had cut out. So Blake was not there for any of that.
Yeah.
And now that Tony and Ryan are gone, now Blake comes back. And so we had a little post meeting with Blake. And he kind of asked one of the questions that Ryan and Tony had asked. And he asked specifically about whether we have a process for releasing copyright from the artists to the project.
Mhm.
I thought we did for some reason.
What's that?
I thought we did for some reason. So I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
We have contact details.
Yep.
And I don't foresee it being an issue because all of the people who have worked on the team who have actually like added something are part of the community, I think, and can be reached out to.
Most, not all.
Yeah.
There's only like one or two people who've like, let's say, are not in contact with us.
I'm just going to stop the recording.